Hey everybody, just going around feeding on my tanks, and I noticed that my Fin Spotted Pleco here had an algae wafer, and he had an entire algae wafer. I break some of them up and I leave some of them in whole pieces, and it was really interesting to watch, and we might get to see it again now that he's found another one. Naturally, by the time I got my camera and got over here, he had stopped doing it. But what he was doing was swimming around in the water column with the algae wafer in his mouth, kind of like he is now. He was just kind of free floating in the water and kind of rolling over on his back, and it was really neat looking. I've never seen him do that before. I've seen it, work the glass and the rocks, and then of course I've seen it pick up the algae wafers off the bottom and sort of work on them while they were on the bottom, but I've never seen it pick them up and carry them around through the water before. That was interesting. Especially the way it was rolling around and sort of drifting and going upside down, and it didn't really seem to have a care in the world. It's a gorgeous fish though. The older it gets and the bigger it gets, the more I love this. I've got another one in my T-bar tank, and I bought them from the same store under the same name. It's a Petsmart fish, and they're sold as Fin Spotted Pleco. But I've had several different people give me names that they probably were as far as what species they really are. And the most likely candidate to be accurate would be the sailfin pleco, I believe, an L82, I want to say, maybe an L83 if I'm getting that right, somewhere in there. But there are several candidates that come really close. And I swear, when I look at the one that's in my T-bar tank and then I look at this one, I swear they are different fish. And of course, if you know anything about the L numbers and the classification of the Loriacariidae and how they catch these and how they ship them and import them and so on and so forth, you would know that it is not unlikely at all, let alone out of the question, that I do have two different species of fish. This very well could be a completely different fish, but very similar looking to the one I've got in my other tank. But as far as I'm concerned, this is the good looking one. I really like the way this one looks. Very subdued colors. I was kind of hoping that the lighter areas would turn out to be a more sort of orange color as the fish matured, and they're not really seeming to. They seem to be very beige or sort of brownish tan color. The tail fin sort of tapers to more of a reddish rusty color, and then the patterning does not seem to be getting bigger as the fish gets older. It seems to be getting more sort of speckled on it. So I'm just curious to see how big it's going to get and how fast it's going to grow. It's been growing pretty quickly so far. It should be interesting to see how quickly it sort of rounds off its initial rapid growth. Most fish, especially fish that will get larger and live for many years, will have a period where they're young, where they grow pretty fast. And then, of course, the overall lifespan of the fish is going to dictate how long that rapid growth period is. If it's something like, a guppy or something that only lives for a couple of years, that rapid growth period happens pretty much all at once. It just sort of grows up to full size, and then you don't really notice that additional growth over the years. If you look at something like my striped Raphael, that grew pretty fast for a couple of years, and then it sort of slowed down, and now it's still getting bigger, and it's, year after year, it's gradually getting larger, but that really rapid growth happened within the first year to 18 months, and this fish is probably going to be similar. So it'll be interesting to see where it tops out after its first, year and a half to 2 years in the tank. And then from there, the growth rate will probably slow down, and I'll probably still be seeing it get much larger, but it'll take years for that to happen. So it can probably spend quite a long time in this 125. And the other one that's in my 55 is not growing nearly as fast as this. So even though that's only a 55-gallon tank, it's a pretty good likelihood that I'll be able to keep that one in there for at least several years before I have to worry about moving it and putting it in a different tank. And by that far down the road, who knows what tanks I'll have available or whatever. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I'm not going to, worry that far in advance. So there you go. I got to get back to feeding. I've only done the first round. I put the algae wafers in all the tanks for everybody. And now I got to go around and do all the actual flake food, and some of my tanks get freeze-dried krill. This is my first video since I've had my new island garden going here. Have a turn around for a moment and have a look at this. So that's a lot of light in the middle of the room, and it really makes some glare on the tanks. So I'm probably going to have to wind up doing something like shutting this down, you know, turning the lights off, and then shooting my video, and then of course bringing the lights back up once the video's done. I just did a water change here on my new garden tank, as I'm calling it. My water sprite in there, you can see that new growth that's coming off of that. It's kind of in the shade right now, but that piece of new growth is really good looking. I'm really interested to see what this water sprite's going to do under this high level of lighting. You can already see where my creeping Jenny is turning upwards and starting to grow towards the light. Even all the way down here, it's starting to turn upwards and grow towards the light. So all in all, I'm really happy with this. And I did just see one of my red-clawed crabs was out, and when I walked in the room, I startled it and it ran back in. I'm getting some good new growth on the water sprite in there. And I've lost no fish despite this being a brand new tank with a brand new filter. It's completely uncycled. Twice now I've had to do pretty much emergency water changes. I got up to about, I don't know, 2 or 3 parts per million on the ammonia last night. And yet I still didn't lose any fish. And then I came in and I did another water change today, and it was up to about 1 part per million. So I haven't actually checked it since I've done that other water change. As I said, I just came in here to kind of get some maintenance done for the evening, do a little tank feeding, etc. And then here we are back to this tank. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you're subscribed. And of course, don't forget, this one here is my 125-gallon native tank. So thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you real soon in the next one.